gym rat, stacking gains and gains in crypto. Lift heavy bars, flip heavy bags in crypto. No suits, no hype, just swinging PRs and P&L. From bench press to bull press, watch my portfolio swell. 6 a.m. rise in the zone with the squad. Metal plates clang while I battle the evil dogs. Pain is the profit, sweat is the proof. Logging the dexes, ticker GRC blowing the roof. No cap in the feed, no chill in the veins. Mirror the charts, I'm built from gains. GRC pressing heart like a preacher in flames. Pump post like the block, bring waves to the chain. No spoon-fed picks, I bench my own fate. I don't wait on moonshots, I dictate.
Crypto muscle, crypto hustle, one rep, one goal. Bulging quads like server farms, mining blocks for the soul. While it's stack, feel like PR day flex, no stress. Huddle hard, train harder, cash out, say less. I'm a gym rat, stacking gains and gains in crypto. Lift heavy bars, flip heavy bags in crypto. No suits, no hype, just swinging PRs and P&L. From bench press to bull press, watch my portfolio swell. It's the RC anthem. He been pushing Richard Hart, bro, elevate the chain. No throne too high for those who grind through pain. RH had vision, now GRC's that flame. Igniting the pulse, no shortcuts in this game. Motivation ain't fluff, it's raw and exact. Built off losses, comebacks, never distract. Level up, lad right, that's the gym rat code. Spotting kings, lifting dreams while building his own road. Push the weight, push the chain, tokens jump, no shame in game. Pulse don't sleep, it's hard and hustle. We mine our truth through sweat and muscle. Bar for bar, coin for coin, gym rat leading, not just joining. This the anthem, GRC we coining. I'm a gym rat, stacking gains and gains in crypto. Lift heavy bars, flip heavy bags in crypto. No suits, no hype, just swinging PRs and P&L. From bench press to bull press, watch my portfolio swell. Swell, swell, this the anthem, GRC anthem. Building legacy from the gym to the blockchain mansion. I'm a gym rat, stacking gains and gains in crypto. Lift heavy bars, flip heavy bags in crypto. No suits, no hype, just swinging PRs and P&L. From bench press to bull press, watch my portfolio swell. This the anthem, GRC anthem. Building legacy from the gym to the blockchain mansion. I'm a gym rat, stacking gains and gains in crypto. Lift heavy bars, flip heavy bags in crypto. No suits, no hype, just swinging PRs and P&L. From bench press to bull press, watch my portfolio swell. This the anthem, GRC anthem. Building legacy from the gym to the blockchain mansion. This ain't hype, this ain't luck. This is gym rat crypto. This is the GRC anthem. Break limits, break chains, no cap, all motion. Gym bars and blockchains set the world in motion. Build for the rise, never timid, never quit. Weights in my hands, gains in my wallet. This is it. GRC.
Whoops. Sorry, bud. What is up, guys? It's your boy, Jim Rat. We're coming to you live. We got 68 in the house already. I want to know how everyone's doing. My last 2 streams were canceled. You want to know why? Because people that hate me spammed the people so hard and so aggressively that they were so anxious to come on the show that they wouldn't do it. Not the case today. We have a heavy hitter with us. I've talked to this guy a few times, okay? And I knew right away I wanted to learn from him / see what he knew. Guys, we're in the Tang gang. We're in the Chia community. This is what we're talking about today. We're talking about real estate on the blockchain. Using the blockchain, well, middlemen. The first thing I think of is middlemen, right? Like middlemen in crypto. Middlemen in real estate. They really take a lot of meat off the bone, right? That's just the first thought that comes into my head. The Chia blockchain, I'm fully submerged in it. It's not, the big question in crypto lately has been problems with Ethereum scaling institutional money. And I see that Chia blockchain is moving down that road. Gene, Bram, the Tang gang, everyone is working together to get this party started. And I think it might start a little quicker than a lot of you guys think. But anyway, blah, 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 blah. I am going to real quick introduce the host. I am going to say hi in the chat. We got Abit. We got Cookies Glass of Milk. My boy CNI. What is up? Leafy K. Good morning, nerds. GM. Crypto Land with the leg biceps. Guys, I just clicked over to monetization on the channel. It was a little bit of a grind. I erased my whole channel. So if you want to support me in any single way, just do all the normal stuff. Don't feel obligated. We're just getting this party started. I want to show before we start, because I might not have a time to pull this up. I want to introduce first our guest right here. And I'm going to drop the link in here. RWA Bobby Matthew Hintz, founder of soulslot.com. If you look at soulslot.com, whoa, real estate investing made easy. Real estate trading built for everyone. Invest confidently as low as $25. This might seem a little abstract in the moment, but follow these 3 easy steps. Connect your wallet, browse properties, invest from $50. Buy fractional shares with one click, instantly diversifying with multiple properties and manage your portfolio in real time. That's about as far as I'm going to dive into it with, That's about as far as I'm going to dive into it without the founder in the chat, guys. Let's see. I want to see biceps in the chat for Matthew. We got people flooding in. We're going to talk. We're going to start by introducing, moving forward. Might be a little rusty. Stick with me. Biceps in the chat, okay? Matthew,
What's up, dude?
how are you feeling right now, brother?
I'm good, dude. Buy Chia, first and foremost. Like, I don't always say it, but I got the hat on. You got to buy XCH, buy Chia right now. I think you're right. I think it's about to get started, dude. I think we're going to the moon. I honestly think Chia is going to the moon.
I do as well. I mean, I do as well, and it's not as much about the financial situation as it is about, we've been talking about this for years, and good things take a long time to build. It's not just all fake fluff marketing that's meant to entice users the second it comes out to make max profit for whoever owns the system, right?
Right.
If people are going to put their money into something, they need paperwork, they need plans, they need ideas of profit, and they need the leaders to be transparent. And I've found all of those things over on XCH at a baseline. Let's start right here, Matt. Can you tell me about your crypto journey? This is Matt, soulslot.com. Chia Maxi almost basically at this point. Can you talk about your journey into crypto so everyone can this is our first show together, so everyone can get to know you a little bit. And if the audio's bad for any of us in the comments, just let me know and I'll adjust some things. But let us know your journey into crypto, and then we'll come to right where we stand now, and then we'll move forward.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, my journey is pretty similar to a lot of people in crypto. I had like the one stint 15 years ago where like they were mining Bitcoin on the computers at my high school. And, I tried mining it on my mom's computer when I was like 15 and it didn't make any sense. I didn't really buy any crypto all the way through college. I actually thought Bitcoin was a scam. I thought most of crypto was a scam because it didn't seem like you could do anything with it. I started getting into Ethereum and Monero, Bitcoin, stuff like that in like 2017, 2018. Kind of played around with it through the 2020, 2021. Again, it didn't really go anywhere. It kind of failed to get institutional adoption. And 2021, I heard about Chia. And that felt like the real programmable money of the future. It, was the thing that you could pretty much do anything on if you could figure out the programming language. And it really was like a Bitcoin 2.0. So I really believe that we will see a great movement from Bitcoin into Chia. when the time is right and when Chia gets their foot in the ground, which honestly is probably right now. So I've always been a day one Chia diehard fan. I didn't really care about the price. I just knew that this was the technology that would allow anyone to build anything related to finance or the way we buy and sell or trade anything.
And so, what is your expertise? You sound like clear. If you were 15 and thinking things were a scam, like you're clearly a little bit ahead of people when it comes. Maybe you were a bright student. Maybe you were a good study. Is this something? Have you always been a little bit of an intellectual nerd, kind of in a way? You actually care about thinking about things at the age 15 to 20, where many people don't really even consider any topics like that, or at least I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I've always liked reading and studying and stuff, but I wouldn't, I guess I've always been interested in this kind of stuff for sure.
Well, it took me till 27 to realize all of crypto was a scam.
Yeah,
and to be honest, I've been going back and forth about Bitcoin in my head too, and I know you have. If you've been anywhere down this rabbit hole, I know you have too. And this is what a lot of these founders do. But instead of building a product on a blockchain waiting for a blockchain that they trust, what they do is they go to do as much slosh trading and whatever manipulation in order to get as much Bitcoin as they possibly can. And this doesn't seem like the approach you're taking, which I think that approach is fruitless and will wind up most people in prison. So you learned about Bitcoin, right? You learned about Chia early on, probably around the same time I learned about it, although I didn't know anything about Chia Lisp or what it could do for the world. My friends were migrating there. All right. And so then Chia comes out. Are you mining Chia? What's your interaction with the system as far as when it first started coming out?
Yeah, I mean, I set up a command line farmer and plotted day one on mainnet. I wasn't in before mainnet, but I've got like a 300 terabyte farm up in 21. It's up now. It's currently not running, but I've got to move it to a different office. But I got like a petabyte right now running on like a refurbished Supermicro server. So I was definitely kind of in the early community and got to learn from like JM Hands, who's over at Silicon now, about Chia and farming and stuff like that. And, I probably made like 100 Chia or something in, the first year and a half, just farming it, and had a lot of fun with like the early DACs community and stuff like that, and just trading back when Chia was like $200 and stuff like that. So day one, I was right into farming and plotting and figuring out what it was all about.
And what have you thought, before we get into everything, the community, how it's evolved, right? It's just the community's aspect. You see guys like me popping in now trying to have fun. When I say guys like me, I mean guys that were not bred on a computer. I didn't use a computer, I swear, until I was 21.
Right.
So I wasn't in the tech scene. I was in the hanging out with friends scene and working all day, classic, right? So what have you noticed about this flourishing community with Mojo Mints and the Tang Gang and all of these fun incentives that are maybe directing people that wouldn't necessarily come in for the same reason as you, where you think Chia Lisp can be something that you can build anything on, right? That's not what everyone's thinking, although it is kind of the conclusion you'll come to. What do you think about this community that's getting built? To me, it's amazing.
Right now, it's about the coin price, and we were eventually going to get to this point where the coin price was low enough to where it was unreasonably low, and the Chia Network Inc. community builders, stuff like that, were going to get to the point where their stuff actually started working and making a difference in the larger crypto community. So we're at that kind of point where price is so low, but tech is so good that we're going to see price action movement upwards. Whereas before that, the community really didn't care about the price. We believed in it. We knew that it was the future of crypto. It made sense that coin price should go up. We weren't really sure what the fair value of Chia was. If you look at the early calculations, even from Chia Network Inc., they were saying the fair value of Chia was $13. So the history of the Chia price like was complete irrational nonsense up until this point where it's finally probably a little bit too low. And so the community now is people that are speculating and they're really saying, hey, this coin's about to pump. They're trying to front run Wall Street. They're trying to front run all these big, OG Bitcoiners who are like, yo, if Chia takes off, I'm rotating into it. So you've got these guys who, have $1,000, $3,000 to throw around that hope for 100x. And I think it's a fun place because we haven't seen like a core coin 100x since like 2017.
Well, that's a great point too. It has been a long time.
Yeah.
Because, and then there's guys like me that were I'm good at speculating because I'm risk taker. So like I got into some coins where I made money, where I had value in crypto, right? Not a lot, but like, wow, I can make some moves here, giving me the accessibility to move into these other areas without coming out of directly my bank account. Right. And that's just me personally. Right. So maybe that is a great point. I think you nailed there with the speculation. The speculators came in. Like I was always cool with having a great conversation about the future of blockchain. But when it comes to putting my money into something, I need a good deal. And when I didn't know enough about mining and how the dumping worked and who was actually, because people assume all these coins are minted out of free air, like thin air, like Ethereum, but they're not. Right. This is more of a proof of work system, like proof of time and space. And we'll talk about that more too. Now, you decided to take on, when was the day that you decided you were going to start SolSlot.com, like, or whatever idea you originally had initially? How did this come to be? And then we'll get in a little bit more of the details.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, in 2022, I've at that point probably flipped like 300 contracts and done quite a few like flips in real estate myself. Did a lot of wholesaling, and I would run into all these homeowners that had beautiful houses, but they would have to accept like some low cash offer because there just weren't enough offers out there for their home, and they were losing a lot of money. Right, their home could probably sell on the market for $500K with like 30 grand in renovations, but they were accepting a $300,000 cash offer because they didn't really have another choice. I'm like, man, if you guys could just sell like 10% of your home at a discount or 20% of your home at a discount instead of the whole home at a discount, right? You would make so much more money. So like if you could sell 10% of a $500,000 home at a 50% discount, right? So you get 25 grand, but you should be getting 50 grand. That's only a 5% loss on the entire home, right? So if you could just do a fractional cash offer or just sell a fraction of your house at a loss or at a discount, you're not going to lose as much selling the whole house at a discount. And
well, I think the big thing you're saying there is the whole house. It's always a whole house decision.
Right.
It's never a quarter house decision. Like I've lived in this house for so long. I have a 2.5% rate. Do I have to get rid of the whole thing? Please,
right.
No.
To access the equity. Exactly. Right. So we're really trying to dislocate the idea of having to sell your house to access the cash, right? Without having to go to banks, because the big DeFi movement is that because of the better technology, we don't need centralized banks anymore. We have community lending protocols. We have these DAOs that are forming, and we believe that you should be able to bank out of your home, and your home should turn into a giant savings account that you can spend out of whenever you want.
And I think that's critical because a lot of guys want to make moves and they have these properties and their parents told them getting houses was a good idea. And so they bought it, and it really was one of the best investments I ever made. Lucky. Every good investment I ever made, I swear to God, I was lucky. It was lucky timing, right? It's always about timing.
Hey, you can be more lucky if you're just in front of more opportunities.
And that's how I've always been. I've always been the guy that just wants stake in the game. I don't care what the game is. If other people are playing the game, but that's enough value for me. You know what I mean? And housing is just like, well, the arbitrage for housing is insane. The renting value you can get for houses that I live in is more than the mortgage generally.
Right.
For the time that you bought it. So there's a lot of wiggle room there. And everyone wants to know how to, hey, if I have 500 grand, people will go under before they sell their house.
Right.
And they have hundreds of thousands of dollars in equity. And everyone's like, well, that's just the game we play. And it's like, no, it's just a stupid game.
Right. There's $6.3 trillion in locked up equity. And, our goal is to lock up 25% of that on chain that's trading like liquid real estate. And hopefully that's a better form of money than, the US dollar, because it's real. And instead of like you have a gold backed currency back in the day, but that's because you could hoard up a bunch of gold and lock it up in a vault, right? You couldn't really do that with real estate until the blockchain. Now we can really start tokenizing the equity and storing it for collateral-backed coins. So it's like, what if you could borrow Circle USDC against your equity without having to sell, and you could sell it to 1,000 different people with 1,000 different microloans who each lent you $100 in USDC, and you pay them 8% a year, which is like a micro rent.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk now. Let's talk about what you built and what's going on. So you have your website. I see the real estate on there. I see the houses. What are some of the options for a user right now, right this second, not tomorrow, not yesterday, that they can do and use with their property? Where are we at right now with it?
Yeah. So right now we've got our sell before you list program, where you can get a fractional cash offer on your home to access cash before you sell on the MLS with your realtor. So it's great for people that, really want some money now, but aren't liking the cash offers they're getting from Open Door or their local cash buyer. This way they can just sell 20% of their home, get the $50,000 or whatever they need now, fix up their home a little bit, maybe pay up some debts, take a vacation, and list their property on the MLS for the maximum value.
I've had people that were talking to me earlier about this, using this, and how, some of the assets that they even traded for went down in value, and they bought them back at a higher rate. That's what it's all about, kind of arbitrage in general. What do you see the future of, even if you weren't here, where do you see this going in the future? Do you see blockchain being the settlement layer? I know more about real estate scams, not than you. You probably know way more about them than me, but I know more about real estate scams than your average person. And I could tell you, every industry is getting taken over by absolute scams. And I'm not talking about DeFi protocols to take yield out of your house. I'm talking about squatter rights, documentation, lease agreements, all of these fake paper. You can literally grab a piece of paper from your printer, write on it, I accept $4,100 a month offer, show it to a police officer, and they're like, well, now you got to go to civil court.
Right. Exactly.
In your house. And then it's like, oh, wait, I'm just screwed. Okay, great.
No, so the immutable ledger that the blockchain is the solution to preventing scams in real estate. Because if it's recorded on the blockchain and ownership is recorded on the blockchain, you can't trick people into thinking, hey, well, look at this quitclaim deed. I own this house. No, you don't. It's not recorded on the blockchain. For our DAC holders, right? Like, let's say some DAC holder gets hacked and someone steals their DACs. Well, like, if someone busted into the register of deeds and stole a warranty deed out of the back office and was like, I own the house now, we'd be like, no, you don't. Like, just because you hold it doesn't mean you own it. So at our company, we can go above and beyond and say, well, look, if you lose your DACs or you get hacked or something like that, well, that's between you and your wallet. We'll still work with you because your true ownership was recorded at the time you purchased those DACs. And what a DAC is, it's like a home stock, right? We call them digital assignment contracts. So what we're doing is we're turning every home into tokens that are tradable, and we can record every single trade on the blockchain so we know who really owns what and who is owed what at the time of settlement. And it makes payments out very easy. Like, for example, we're paying out $36,000 in distributions today on the Chia blockchain. Right now, SolSlot is like the number one USDC Chia holder. And that $36,000 is going out to 1,263 unique NFTs. Some people own like 500 of them. Some people only own one. So we've really turned this home ownership, the interest in the actual property, over to hundreds of people that we don't know, but the blockchain knows, and there's no argument about who owns what.
And this is when the NFT talk comes in. People still think NFTs are just JPEGs that are hosted on websites, and it's not the case. It's not the case at all. And I think a lot of us caught on to this early, but XCH is kind of where it cemented in for me, right? Because I truly believe that Ethereum is centralized. And I truly believe that I don't know the specifics about what goes on behind the scenes of Ethereum. And I don't even think I can find out unless I spend all my time doing that, which I don't want to do.
That's why you got to buy Chia, right? We're 26 minutes in. We've only said it once. Buy Chia, buy XCH. You can go back anytime I said it. You know, when I recommend it, well, it's not financial advice. Nothing on GRC's podcast is financial advice. We're a bunch of illiterate, very uneducated men here. But we are buying Chia. And if you are friends with us, we do think it's a good idea for you to buy Chia too, especially right now.
And I think people in the normal industry are starting to, all the pumping stops and the brain starts working, right? Once the pumping stops, everyone says, hey, what am I doing here?
Right.
What am I doing here? Is Bitcoin slow? Does anyone use it? No. It's a centralized exchange trading token.
Right.
Or leverage trading, especially, you know? So I think it's really important to work through these concepts. And I've been super loud about, I know the guys that I learned from learned this long before me. And yeah, a lot of those guys ended up just scamming people for money, but that's fine. I'm glad they came to the same conclusion I'm coming to, because I understand why some people have different morals, of course, and how they want to get money, but I know that the mind share is evolving in the space.
Right. When the coin does this for long enough, right, people start actually having to think about what they're doing. Because, I mean, when prices are just going up, I mean, it's just an incredible dopamine rush where no one's really thinking about anything. And people are only buying because the price is going up. So it creates that gamma effect. It's cool to see a community of people that are actually buying Chia right now because they're smart. They're actually intelligent people, and they're buying Chia because they understand it on an intellectual level. Just like the people who bought Bitcoin 10 years ago. Bitcoin, when it first started, it wasn't a scam. It was really hijacked. It was an incredible idea of peer-to-peer money that was hijacked by a bunch of rich people who just wanted to hoard it and sit on it, and ruin the idea of it actually being a tradable unit of currency that allowed for people to buy and sell anything.
Well, it's a security risk, it being so low in value, almost like it was almost a security risk that so many people, a lot of these tech savvy scam guys, they're ahead of the curve too. Like, let's not get it twisted. Like, scam guys are not always behind the curve. Sometimes they kind of are creating the curve. Right. So I come to this idea that, because I talk to these guys that are Bitcoin maxis, right? And they remind me of something myself when I was a maxi. You know, they remind me of something. They just tell me their best argument for Bitcoin being dominant in the world is that it was first. And I don't think that's good enough. I think that sending something that takes 20 minutes doesn't scale well. I think that something that's expensive, although when people aren't using it, it's fine, and no one's using it on chain. Again, OTC deals. Again, like, what are your total thoughts on? Okay, let's go back to the hijack thing. When you say Bitcoin's hijacked, what do you mean, and your experience with that? Because that's what it feels like to a lot of people, or at least me. I come to the conclusion, but I can't really nail it because I wasn't around and I don't really care to go back. When you say it was hijacked, that's when people started realizing the value and how they could move forward on it. Do you know, like, specifically when this happened in time? Roughly.
I mean, I think it happened at the run up in 2013 because 60 to 70% of all the Bitcoin trade volume was occurring on the Silk Road, which meant that mainly, and people trading on the Silk Road, like if you were buying anything on the Silk Road, you were buying it from a drug cartel. You weren't buying it from like your local drug dealer. You were buying it from some European chemical shop that was charging, thousands and thousands of dollars for large quantity drugs so that they could then be sold throughout, right, the community. But Silk Road was what they call a plug, right? A plug to just your average Joe operation. It was the top of the drug trickle down. So you have these guys who were trading millions of dollars in drugs and using Bitcoin. Now you also have arms trafficking, all sorts of trafficking.
Anything illegal, really, that you couldn't just get on the free market.
Right. And so you have all this money that is the foundation of Bitcoin. Well, the real foundation of Bitcoin is the cypherpunks. And those guys are relatively upset with what happened to Bitcoin. If you look at it, and that's how I'd like to think of it. And then you have core criminals, back to the narrative of, hey, most people that use Bitcoin are criminals. And then above that, you have really, really rich people who bought Bitcoin because they speculated on it and price went up. They put $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 into it. Now it's worth $1 billion after Silk Road got shut down because a lot of the coin was just locked up. And at that point, it becomes, hey, everyone else buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. And I'll just live off of selling 1% of my Bitcoin a year for the rest of my life, right? Like if you have a token and you're rich and you put $100,000 into the token and it goes up, your goal is then to get everyone else, market the token to get them to buy the coin for it to go up even more so that you can just sell enough for you to live off of for the rest of your life. Because if you sell all of your supply, it'll crash. So we've made these core Bitcoin OGs, not all of them are criminals. A lot of them are really smart guys who got hijacked by organizations that used it to trade illicit things because it was primarily anonymous. We've made them super rich and they're not dumping because they don't need to sell $1 billion of Bitcoin tomorrow. They sell 100,000, 200,000 and it doesn't do anything to the price. So the higher it goes, the more they can actually extract out of the system.
And they have a big thing I talk about is marketing. When you get involved in something and you have zero downside risk, meaning it's gone up so many hundreds of percents, but since the last time you purchased it on the market, you have ultimate marketing leverage. All you need to do is market. There's nothing else you need to do. You don't need, and these aren't people that are waiting to figure out how they're going to pay their mortgage. These are people that have been hoarding money their entire lives. And that's just the way it is. There are these people exist. We all know them. It's just like the funny thing when people say Donald Trump doesn't want any more money, not whether he's good or bad. It's none of my business. He wants more money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just mean as far as like people that have an insatiable desire to have power and money, that is something that doesn't leave them. It's not something that they can think their way out of. And so I've noticed this in real time, this idea, when Richard Hart made it really clear, like this is all about price go up in value only, right? This is how can we change our lives? And then you realize a lot of these people change their lives all the way into federal prison. It's like, how far can you go? But then you come over to Chia where everyone's built, there's just builders. Like I can't even understand half the stuff that I listen to in the Chia community in the morning when Drac and all the guys that are building, it's just so far off of their mind. Like, what's this green candle going to look like when Gene Hoffman finally gets some revenue or whatever? It's less about that and more about the fundamentals of the technology. And that was really enticing to me as an investor.
Bitcoin yeah, that's what got hijacked from Bram and Gene and these guys. Back in the day, if you look it up, like the cypherpunk mailing list, like if you go look it up, the guys on the cypherpunk mailing list, which were the original cryptographers, like Bram Cohen, inventor of BitTorrent, Gene Hoffman, creator of the first ad blocker on the internet, and a pivotal character in Pretty Good Privacy, which was some of our original encryption standards. And the use of in real life encryption was really paved by these guys. And peer-to-peer money, whether you were a part of like PayPal or you were a part of Mojo Nation, which Bram was talking about, they all wanted to create this peer-to-peer money. And they did. And their original conversations were, hey, look, this is an amazing technology. It's a big FU to the Federal Reserve, and we're really going to free people to be able to trade in the way they want to. And it got hijacked. So Chia cannot be hijacked. That's why we have such a big pre-farm, right? You can't buy enough Chia out there to really do anything to gain control. Like Bitcoin is pretty centralized because there's about 12 core Bitcoin devs that get to choose what happens to the future of the chain and hard forks and things like that. And, if they all say we want to change this or add this or, do this, they'll put a vote and they'll do it, right? Chia is more decentralized in the sense that it has more nodes. But at the same time, we are seeing a much healthier level of control over how the technology develops from, a corporation's Chia Network Inc. So it's like all of the stuff that should have happened on Bitcoin has already happened on Chia. Like they were able to accomplish that because they were able to raise the capital and sell the pre-farm to the point where we are now set for the rest of, our lives when it comes to what we need.
And I think it's important to decipher the difference between distribution and centralization, right? Because that's where people get a little confused too. Like institutions don't want random guys like me having 7% of the supply of they're putting things into. They like that people with documentation and all their ducks in a row, right? It's the one thing that crypto's never had. Someone with their ducks in a row, someone with business sense, and we all know the numbers of U.S. investors, right? We saw the Robinhood launch the other day with I don't even want to, I can't whatever it was,
Stocks,
right? But not in the U.S., so I didn't even read it, right? I never even got. I'm in the U.S., right? So the first thing it says is U.S. investors. I was like, all right, well, this isn't going to work, and it's centralized, and what the hell are they even doing over there? Right. So having the distribution, and there's other guys that made this clear. You can have control over a system and still have a decentralized node network, right? So that is critical, right? It's so critical to understand. In the pre-farm, the there are charts with the xch.ninja, and I'll post the link. So centralization as a supply and centralization as distribution is just totally different things. And actually institutions need some sort of centralization and distribution in order to even feel comfortable enough coming in. We see that. I was huge in the Pulse chain community. Now I think it's piss. And the founder owns 95% of the coins, which he minted for free, right? So it really makes it hard for an investor to say, hey, I'm going to come over here so this guy can play the fiddle with me no matter what, and I have to follow his Twitter in order to see what's going on. This doesn't make sense for institutional investors. Might make sense for a speculator. Might make sense for whatever, but that's not what I'm looking for personally. And it took me years to figure out what is Bitcoin, what is Ethereum. Then Ethereum switches to proof of stake. And I researched that so heavily for so long until I really understood that was the biggest mistake Ethereum has ever made, in my opinion.
Well, any proof of work consensus isn't going to last long term either, because the network is just going to become more and more competitive, because there's going to be less and less rewards, and you have to use an incredible amount of electricity to secure the network. That was also a big reason why Bitcoin got hijacked, because the network was supposed to pretty much just work on your consumer laptop and use your CPU that's in your laptop to mine Bitcoin. And instead, people became very coin hungry and said, well, we can build these custom ASICs and build these Bitcoin mining warehouses and burn a ton of electricity to compete with each other to try to make as much money as possible. And the Bitcoin price was going up so aggressively that it was supporting using way too much electricity. That's another problem that Chia has solved. So we know that we're eventually going to get to this point where we realize that Bitcoin is not sustainable because of the proof of work model. And proof of stake also is not really a good consensus. So at this point, the only consensus that is eco-friendly while also supporting, a healthy decentralization and a high Nakamoto coefficient is Chia. There's no other currency. There's no other blockchain that has that kind of technology available to secure, the U.S. government and nation states and all the world's currencies on it. And we know that all the world's currencies are going to move to the blockchain. So the thing about why Chia's price is so low, and what's important about it being low, is it's because it's an attractive price for people that are in charge of billions of dollars, or people that run entire nations and governments. And these are the people that Chia has been quietly courting for the past 3 years. Why in the world would they want to buy in at $60 when Chia can sell it to them at $12? And what's really wrong with that from a perspective of, hey, this is long-term wealth that we're all shooting for? Sure, coin price didn't go up for you in 3 months, right? But we have successfully onboarded some of the most powerful organizations. And if you look at what's better to put all of our financial, systems on, is it the Federal Reserve or is it Chia? And is Chia able to stimulate the market in the future if we have to, and we need to, make another big development run, or we need to invest in new technology or whatever Chia wants to invest in? Yeah, of course, they've got a huge pre-farm. But if they also need to make sure that there's confidence in the network, they can buy it back. No other person can do that in the world. There's no other blockchain set up for that. This is like Federal Reserve level, like technology and thought, like games. And these guys are looking at 10-year horizons. We're 4 years, 5 years into Chia. It's crazy that people even complain about it when they don't even understand how game set match Chia networking really is when you actually study what they just did.
Yeah, and I mean, the whole Bram Cohen thing is kind of a big draw for a lot of us, right? Like, everybody knows about BitTorrent. My dad knows about BitTorrent, and my dad doesn't know anything about tech. And BitTorrent is still around today. A big thing is also things that are still around today. Everyone acts like every business has to go to zero eventually. And it's like, there's people that have businesses that never went away. I think Cookies was saying this about Home Depot. The guy who invented Home Depot is dead.
Right.
Home Depot thrives. Home Depot is our economy. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean, you look at like voting protocols and stuff like that. The U.S. like C corporation, like a Delaware C corporation, and stock charters and stuff like that is the best voting protocol in history. Like, the U.S. government is practically set up like a C corporation, and so to have a vote on whether or not the pre-farm is sold by a member of a board, right? And to have 3 out of 5 people agree to do any major corporate action is a whole lot better than having Richard Hart decide whether or not he drank too much last night, to sell, you know what I mean? It's like,
He's got the gusto today, boys. He had a couple martinis.
right. He's going to dump 3% of the supply just because he needs to, like, because he's, tied up in whatever. Chia would commit criminal fraud, and the SEC and the US government would seize the entire pre-farm if they mess up, right? If they break the law, if they misuse the pre-farm, which people complain about all the time. It's like, do you know that they're an American C corporation, right? This is not like
Just break that down a little bit. Let's go start to finish with that, the C corporation thing and why it makes it different from everything else.
Yeah, I mean, American crypto companies are oftentimes in the Caribbean, like in the Cayman Islands or in this, Switzerland or in some, European country that is a tax haven that allows them to pretty much do whatever they want, like FTX in the Bahamas, right?
And you see that all the time. I saw that with Zen Crypto, and they did the little offshore foundation in the Caribbean or where, I don't know exactly where it is. All right, keep going. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, for Chia Network Inc., they have made this company in America. So Chia is an American-made crypto. It's in a short list. It's actually the only American-made decentralized blockchain company. So not only that, but they are friends with the U.S. government and the SEC, right? They're pretty much saying, hey, we're doing some tech that is so powerful and so unstoppable that you might as well get along with us because we come in peace, right? So it's like, that's what we needed. Like, this is the vision of the future of money and the reparations of the issues at our Federal Reserve. And you can't print more Chia, right? But you can sell it into the market if you need to. If, like, for example, stimulus checks, right? When COVID happened, that's called M3. We printed money, we QE'd, we lowered interest rates. We were still having trouble to speed up the economy, get it running, right? So what did? We gave everyone $1,200. The US government is able to do that because they can just print money. No blockchain company can do that because Chia Network Inc. is the only one with a strategic reserve. But if Chia Network Inc. needed to do stimulative behaviors, which they have been, in order to get Chia out there, get it decentralized, get enough people hearing about it, get into the hands of the people, they can, right? And if we're having inflation or the currency is devaluing too rapidly, what can they do? They can buy it back, pull it off the market, just like the opposite of QE, right? Just like quantitative tightening, where the government is taking cash out of circulation. Chia can take Chia out of circulation. So they're pretty much building a better Federal Reserve in that vaults are better than bank accounts, right? Everything is decentralized, but we still have the ability to create programming that allows us to act under the US law without breaking any US laws with the technology. The technology still is perfect in the US, and it's also perfect across the world.
Let me ask you a question. What is a DAC on SoloSlot, just to clarify, and why would I buy them instead of buying XCH? Instead of only buying XCH?
Yeah, for sure. So DACs are digital assignment contracts, and what that means is you're actually getting real interest in the property. You're buying equity in the home at a discount. So if you think about like a 60-40 portfolio or an 80-20 portfolio where you're 60% in stocks and 40% in bonds, kind of like our parents were taught. Most people are starting to realize, hey, we should own crypto. And some of us are realizing we should be 100% in crypto if we're investing. Once you're in crypto, there's not many options, right? You've got core coins, you've got meme coins, you've got NFTs. You don't really have anything else, right? And it's pretty easy to catch yourself going from core coins to meme coins and NFTs. What we believe in is that you can also invest in real world assets and new unique assets like the ACs and DCs brought to you by Permuto Capital, partnered with Chia Network Inc., right? But also real estate. So maybe you should be 60% in core coin and 40% in real estate, or 60% in core coin and 20% in meme coin and 20% in real estate. But hedging against price action is where we come in. You're pretty much buying into real estate at a discount, and barring the market having a 20% drop in the next year, or the homeowner literally defaulting and going to foreclosure, you're pretty set up to get anywhere between 30 and 40% annualized returns on your real world asset investment, on that investment into real estate. And your lock-in period, if you stay in, is really around 4 to 6 months, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer. And we have secondary market liquidity because of DEXI and one market technology at Chia. So you could trade your DAC to someone else if you really needed to get out. But over the lifespan of our company, which we've been live for a year, and the price of XCH, there has never been a moment in time where if you bought DACs and redeemed them, the price of XCH was higher, or you missed out on any gains unless you were actively trading. So if your XCH strategy is just to buy and hold and forget about, maybe you should throw some into real estate because it's a very similar holding pattern. And if the XCH price is actually lower or even the same, your returns in real estate, 14% return over 3 months, may allow you to see 50% returns on XCH, because the XCH price might have gone from $20 to $10, but your investment went from 1,000 to 1,150, which allows you to buy 50% more or 100% more XCH at the new XCH price. So like today, real life, I invested in Pollen at like $15. Today I'm redeeming $900 and I'm going to buy XCH at $9.70 or whatever it is today, right? So I've been able to start cashing out my real estate and accumulating sub $10 XCH when I was trading XCH for real estate above $15. So it's been an incredibly profitable trade for me as a crypto investor. And that's why we're excited for sure.
Yeah, no, and the thing about real estate is the downside is low. Downside is low in crypto. I like, for example, everyone knows that I launched a coin only because Chia Network exists. Trust me, I have been streaming for 5.5 years. I've had streams with 900 real live viewers, and I didn't want to launch a chain on Pulse Chain or Ethereum because I didn't feel like I had control over it at all, and I felt like it was vapor. But this was something I felt in my heart. Not really I couldn't write a thesis paper about it, right? I was like, it feels centralized. These guys have such big money, And then I come over to this scene, the meme coin scene. And meme coins are easier to launch because of regulatory clarity as well. Like it's just more bare bones than like if I have a function on my meme coin, it can get a little hairy. You know what I mean? So it's been super interesting to because when I said one day I can trade GRC for real estate and vice versa.
Yeah.
If things get liquid enough. And I was like, wow. It all came together when I learned about the coin minting of the coins actually costing value, right? Like the minting of the coins actually costing value. And so, yeah, everyone knows that I launched a coin on Chia. It's been an amazing experience, head to toe. I have been so fortunate that this community has accepted me, and I have been here since the beginning. I just didn't know what was going on in the beginning. Can you talk about that for a second? Why launching a coin on Chia is different maybe than launching a coin on, let's say, Ethereum?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, obviously you don't have to use a launcher. Like, you can just launch it from your wallet. And then because of the order book style, you don't have to then pair it into an LP pool. right off the bat. It's a lot more organic right now. Like people typically know who's who and who's got the wallet. Like it's probably very obvious to anyone that's in GRC right now how much GRC you own and what you're doing with your GRC. Like people aren't obfuscating across multiple wallets as frequently as they are on Solana and stuff like that. I think that the nature of trading is slow. It's slower, so you're not getting these, micro wicks where like on Solana you go on pump.fun and it might like go up 40% or 300% in 30 seconds and then rug a minute later. And if you're not like literally glued at the screen trading when that wick happens, you're out and you're rugged. Like you're not going to see that as often. Like rugs might happen like over 2 or 3 days on Chia. But I think that like the big strategy that has had a lot of success for meme coins on Chia has been like the devs that are just buying the coin back from the community. So they're like literally trying to buy the supply back after they gave it all away. And obviously that's kind of a reward incentive for anyone that's holding. Like for example, the guy Bytes and Blocks, Tom Beppe, is very well known to be buying back his own supply and giving it away and stuff like that. So the big thing that I think is unique about the Chia meme coins is Chia is such a low cap chain that it isn't really likely that like we've seen the big runs in meme coins yet. So figuring out what is new and unique, what new and unique meme coins may take off. Like I don't believe in copycat coins. Like I don't believe in like Pepe on Chia or like Mog on Chia. Like if you're gonna do something unique and new on Chia. Don't do something that's been on another chain and just say that it's somehow better because it's on Chia. And like that's just my personal preference. Like no hate to the guys who like are into Pepe on Chia. Like there's still a great community around that. But for me, it's like we haven't seen oh wow, this coin can only be found on Chia and is only deeply liquid on Chia. Like for example, Spacebucks is probably one of those really unique coins that can only be found on Chia and has this strange early provenance on Chia where they're doing like a Spacebucks faucet. So it's kind of fun for people. Like at some point, it won't be realistic for anyone to get $1 million or sorry, 1 million Spacebucks, right? And there used to be, and Tom Beppe actually used to joke about it, like being a Spacebucks millionaire used to be kind of like something fun to be able to say you are on Chia. And, so for me, I've played around the memes. They're a lot of fun, but it's really hard to figure out like what that one coin or a few coins are going to be that are going to blow up like Pepe did or blow up like Shiba Inu did or Doge did. But I do think that will happen on Chia, and it's fun to watch people try to kind of front run that or figure out which one it is. A lot of unique communities forming for sure.
And the liquidity pools are safe still, as far as like you're not dumping $7,000 into any of these coins. Dexy Bucks has $488,000 market cap in 1,318 XCH, 1,500 XCH in the liquidity pool. So these are kind of environments, just like I would find on the Pulse chain or Ethereum, something that big players couldn't sell into anyway.
Yeah.
So that would be like, as a speculator, would be like, oh wow, this is my field, like my liquidity profile. I always call it liquidity profile, like that I'm looking for, right? So if you're a speculator, you might see something that has a $4 million market cap and $1.1 million in liquidity. That's called a scam.
Right. Well, we also don't have like,
there's no natural progression of the actual network value. It's just a dude that has too much of one side of the asset, creates another one that's completely free, and dumps it all into a liquidity pool, waiting for other people to put money into it.
Yeah.
And the cool thing, V2 liquidity, which is a very dangerously good thing, having these pools that are only tied to XCH, and again, it will change in the future, it really narrows the window. If you want to be there, you're going to move the price up. And if you don't, you're going to move the price down. And there's not going, the bet pay whale can't go right into the GRC and the DACs.
You don't have aggregation. Yeah, that's what's really unique. So like the original swap, Pancake Swap got rugged. Uniswap was probably like the OG swap. And everything is paired in ETH to meme. So your V2 pools back in the day were ETH and meme. And there weren't ETH and USDC pools. You didn't even have aggregation. You had ETH to USDC and you had ETH to meme. But you couldn't just swap from meme to USDC until they came out with DEX aggregation, which was like effect where the memes pumped naturally because the ETH pumped. So then when you had aggregators, you allowed people to get out of their meme without dumping the ETH. So you were able to aggregate across ETH to USDC. And right now, people are going to see the same thing. As you want to find the coin where people don't dump when XCH skyrockets. And that's going to be guys who didn't care about the price of XCH. Like, I know I was talking to one of the OG farmers who hasn't been in the community for a long time. He's like, I have 10 million space bucks. Right? He got 10 million space bucks back probably when the XCH price was 200 bucks. Right? He doesn't really care that he could go liquidate that for like 6,000 bucks right now or whatever. He's happy. Same with Dexy Bucks. Dexy Bucks, the reason why people don't put Dexy into the LP is because Dexy is something you want to hold on to because you want to have voting right in the governance, right? Like we have a big vote coming up at Dexy that says, hey, we're going to pretty much give you like 36,000 Dexy over the course of a year, which is like of the current circulating supply, 0.3% of the entire circulating supply, just for pairing it with ETH on Uniswap. And you get to vote on that and pretty much tell Dexy, yes, you should release that Dexy to us because we are Dexy whales. So after kind of like you get your experience of you walk in the door and it's like lights and cameras and, video games and stuff, like the bowling's in the back and the bowling's like a bunch of old dudes who are like, man, I'm trying to own 1% of Dexy, or man, I've got 1 million space bucks. Like, don't do that if, you're not really just wanting to hang out for long term, but do expect for those to pay. I do think those will pay out better long term than some of the newer coins. And when XCH pumps, beware that people will just dump their coins to get to the XCH to exit because all they were waiting for was like a 4x so that they could get to cash.
And then there's ways around that too. So like one of the strategies that I had was for that initial, I didn't want high volatility upside or downside. I knew it would be like within that 60%, 70% ish up and down. But if I put all the liquidity in at a certain point and burnt it, right? That way that those two, if no one ever bought my coin again, it would move with XCH. But I got in at a very low number, which I was aware of, right? And I just, it's the bonding of those two coins, right? But that liquidity was actually burnt and will always be there, but it can't be accessed by me.
Yeah, the only way you get access is by selling into the supply,
right?
Which would then extract the XCH.
Right.
But the idea
I
is
would be
like,
doing, so I'm thinking like that.
right,
Yes.
you're not pulling the LP.
Mhm.
The LP in and of itself will constantly. It's the same thing as revoking your contract, like in an LP pool on Uniswap. You put it in, and then you revoke your contract rights. So the contract, you can't pull the LP out, which means that it will always be able to move up if it ever goes to zero, because there will be all that GRC stuck in the pool for sure. For some reason, in an opposite regime from the Trump administration that happens in the next 10 years, they say that LP is a crime. They could shut down Airdrome, they could shut down Uniswap, because they could shut down any of these centralized smart contracts, but they couldn't shut down TibetSwap. They could shut down the UI. They couldn't shut it down if you were running it on it. I've really started doing is using trading bots to trade or provide liquidity. And you can actually do cat-to-cat pairs, which is cool. So you could do like DACs bucks for GRC, right? And you could actually just post 100 offers out there for that swap, which is kind of that pure exit for people. And something that's really cool that I hope we see on Chia is moving V3 liquidity to where the V3 liquidity or the concentrated range that you're in moves with the price. So your fees, no matter what the price of XCH is, because the bot is removing the offers that fall out of range and replacing them with offers that are back in range, but keeping the concentrated.
Yeah. So for any of you guys that see those little buys, everyone still thinks that people come in and buy 0.01 XCH worth of a meme coin. That's the aggregator doing its thing. That's just the buyback to stabilize the price. So all the people are like, who's making these petty 0.2 buys? And I'm like, nobody. Nobody is. That is the liquidity pool doing its thing. Same thing on Ethereum, right? Like, if you look at a chart that no one's touching, there's a lot of buys and sells. That's because that native asset is actually moving, which actually hits the chart. People don't realize that hits the chart, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I use DEXI.space/swap for any of my trades because of that aggregator feature. I do think that first and foremost, you're paying the 1% fee to DEXI. But secondly, you will almost always get better deals to use DEXI and TibetSwap, and it's actually going to arb across both of them for you. So when buying anything, especially like selling WUSDC, like if you want to get to cash, if you want to get to USDC, always use DEXI.space/swap.
It's good alpha.
Because it will arb across the two. Don't use TibetSwap when exiting XCH, and don't use TibetSwap with deep liquidity coins like Spacebucks, DEXI bucks. I think HOA is still pretty deep liquidity. The top four, where are they now? Neighbor.
And hey, congratulations everyone! Bitcoin just tapped all-time high, which is good. And the other thing about people don't think that, and good question for you actually. Although XCH has gone down in the pre-farm and everything, still with a significant bull run, that these things still are tied to other assets. Sure. I feel, and so what I'm really waiting for is some market confirmation. I got to ask you about this. We see Bitcoin, institutional money, right? ETFs, all this stuff. I really feel like it's buzzy, smoke and mirrors a lot of the time. But at the same time, like, we are one catalyst away from this thing moving in the right direction. And like you said, you haven't seen a layer one do 100x in 5 years or whatever. 5 years is a long time. We used to witness this. There was a time where people thought if you pressed enter on a layer 1 and had validators, it would go up 600x.
That was during the ICO booms for sure, which, you know, I have a buddy who literally made, you know, did. And like, that's not going to happen again, except for like maybe 1, 2, or 3 more. It's definitely not going to be an EVM fork. You know, it's not going to be anything that has anything to do with Ethereum. We have 2 core coins. We have Bitcoin and we have Ethereum. We're looking for maybe 2 more core coins. Bitcoin, the derivatives are a very popular candidate, and Chia is a Bitcoin derivative. Chia is practically a fork of Bitcoin. So Chia is should be just as popular as Bitcoin Cash. If Chia had the market cap of Bitcoin Cash, it would be worth $450 right now. If Chia had the market cap of Cardano, it would be worth like $1,200 now. Cardano is like a unique blend between Bitcoin and Ethereum because it has the UTXO swaps. So I don't think that because of their proof of stake model, you're going to see Cardano and some of the early days where Cardano was likely, you know, insider bought or whatever. There's not a lot of clarity there. I could be wrong, but Hoskinson was obviously a member of the Ethereum Foundation and part of the original Ethereum team. So great candidate there. Besides those 3, you know, Bitcoin Cash, Chia, Cardano, you don't see anything that has the consensus of Bitcoin where you know, can achieve true decentralization without worrying about having to slash with the programmability of Ethereum. That's what we're looking for. And Chia is the only one that has consensus and programmability, in my opinion. So
now let's talk about the programmability as far as attacks, right? Like attack surface on Ethereum seems great, and a lot of people seem to be very understanding and knowledgeable about Solidity.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, I could probably find a couple in my neighborhood that could spin something up. But in Chia Lisp, can you talk about your experience with Chia Lisp and how that could be different and how it's probably more complicated for a guy like, let's say, some Ethereum whale to come in and play the fiddle with it? Because not everyone wants to study for a year and a half. You know what I mean? Not everyone wants that. And Solidity is obviously something that a lot of people use. So let's talk about Chia Lisp for a second and like what you've noticed and learned and studied and how it could potentially that the thing that makes a dev has to go all in on Chia Lisp probably, like, to learn it. I don't know exactly what it takes to learn something like that, but give me your take on that in general, because it seems like anybody can play the fiddle with shit on with stuff on Ethereum slash.
So Solidity and Java-based coding languages are already pretty well indexed by things like ChatGPT. So you can code in Solidity pretty easily with AI. You cannot code in Chia Lisp with AI. It's just not feasible. And the reason why are they saying our audio?
No, it's not yours.
If
I sound normal for you, it's not me.
Yeah, you sound normal. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. So first and foremost, you can't just whip up a contract. So that's your issue, right? You have people that are making vulnerable contracts in Solidity. So you have the devs that are not smart enough, or the AI that's not smart enough to prevent the contract from getting hacked, right? And then 2, all the contracts are centralized. So there's a single point of vulnerability where all I need to do is access the keys. So the social engineering component of me saying, hey, this guy's got $100 million locked up in this LP pool, and all I have to do is get his keys to drain it. So draining, because we're just targeting a single person, is very easy. Now on Chia Lisp, everything lives on chain, and besides, I'm just going to say this, everything lives on chain, like Tibet Swap, right? And peer-to-peer swapping protocols and stuff like that. Once the offer is accepted, the coins are not stuck in an LP pool that is controlled by a centralized party. Unlike Ethereum, you cannot make spaghetti code AI slop in Chia like you can in Solidity. So you don't have stupid code and you don't have centralized points of vulnerability on Chia. I do agree that if you wanted to learn Chia, you would probably have to dedicate all your time to it because there's not a lot of documentation out there about Chia, and you kind of have to be hanging out or friends with the devs that do understand how to do it, and you have to be willing to try to communicate with them in a way that's not offensive and also, intelligent enough for them to not just be like, dude, how am I supposed to teach you this when you don't even understand like the bare minimums? And for that reason, there's probably not going to be a lot of people building in Chia outside of the core Chia devs that we have right now. Like at Slot, we got very blessed with the opportunity to build stuff outside of the core Chia Network Inc. dev team that is in Chia that does serve our company's growth versus, just having to use the tech that's available.
Hey guys, I'm really sorry about the audio. It's so odd. I have streamed so many times in my life, and when the audio's choppy, I can usually bring up my other stream on a separate browser, and then it would be choppy for me. But in this case, it is not choppy. Hold on one second. I believe you that it's choppy, though, because everyone's saying it. I don't really know what the chop means exactly. Yes, very choppy, very choppy, very choppy. Give me 1 second real quick. Hold on just a second. And hold on just a second. The elites don't want you to know about the DACs. I'm sure that's true. Elites don't want you to know much. Hold on 1 second. I want to hear myself on this. It's so choppy. Hey, just stay right there for a second, Matt. I am going to exit my browser. It won't do anything except keep a dead stream. Just stay there for a second. Oh boy, I have my internet's plugged in. That's the problem. I use Ethernet. I don't play that game. Hold on 1 second. Let's see. Guys, is there anything better on the audio? Anything better on the audio? Let me get a little audio checkup. Anything better on the audio? I have streamed so often in my life, and never once have I had this problem. Oh, it's better now. Thank God. Now I have sweat beating down my forehead. I'm a little bit OCD, so that really hurts. But nonetheless, no, you're on slight. No, it's not better. No, not for me. Still lagging out when you moved that wire. Hold on. Choppy GRC. Choppy GRC. Is it still choppy GRC? 617 live on X, 22 live on YouTube, 1 live on Twitch. It's back. When I moved that wire, it's back. More confirmation. Nah, it's better. Better. Wow. Technology. plugging things into no better. Oh, so on X it's better. Ugh. The elites got me right where I want them. Hold on. Oh, how's the audio now? Restart the shiz. We waiting. GRC is back on the scene looking crispy and clean. It's choppy on YouTube. Technologically, thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. The struggle. You can fix it. You just need electric tape, bubble gum, and a popsicle stick. Oh, dear God. How is it? Let me see here. Oh, you're going to give me a heart attack. Damn, it's so choppy, dude. I'm turning off the Twitch stream. Remove. Never once. It goes good. It has to be my connection then, right? Let me turn off maybe my Wi-Fi is connecting and I don't mean it to. Hold on. Bluetooth. RH siphoning my bandwidth to mine PLS. Yes. Any better, guys? Any better? Damn. I'm going to turn my definition low. Integrated camera, audio. It's tapping. It is tapping. Fudge! The struggle is real because he hears me normally. It's still choppy, I can tell. Seems a bit better. 100%. I don't use Wi-Fi. I plug in. Sounds better. Oh, the dopamine rush. It's like a green candle. I think we're back, bro.
Dude.
I'm so sorry about that, bro.
Nah, we got it, bro.
Do you remember where we were?
We're talking about the devs and buying more Chia. XCH, right? It's available, I think, only on like crypto.com for US users. You got to go to Airdrome. You can buy it wrapped, WXCH, on Airdrome, WXCH on Uniswap, or you can bridge using work.green directly to the Chia blockchain and buy on Dexy.space. You might need to turn my mic down. It might be clipping.
Audio. Guest audio settings. 1 second. Stress. Real life stress.
Bro, what if I'm now wrecked? What if you're not wrecked anymore and now I'm wrecked?
Yes, it's clipping. Turn it down. Okay, that's me. It's probably my fault from the beginning. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Here we go. Echo cancellation on, down to 100. Oh, it's happening again.
All right. Yeah. So, anyways, the point of the story is we're looking for the third core coin. And because we've got the consensus mechanism of Bitcoin with Chia, which is XCH, and we've got the programmability of Ethereum, Chia is probably the third coin that will take them all. Because essentially, Chia is our greatest effort to beat Bitcoin we've ever had. Bitcoin, while it's decentralized and we've got a lot of money tied up in it, it's not something that the US government's going to have a great opportunity to adopt without supporting a lot of these people that may not get along with the US government. For example, China and the US both pretty much have the same amount of Bitcoin. Also, on Chia, we can pretty much trade anything. That you posted that up there. Fractional real estate is something that can really only happen or exist on the Chia blockchain, which means that people can own Chia, own real estate peer to peer, and you can own as little as let's say 1% of your neighbor's house, and they could own 1% of your house. So we've got this idea where we can start owning entire neighborhoods, but just fractionally, and using that as money that will allow us to essentially bank from home and diversify our money across an entire asset class. Like, if you think about it, if I put my money in the bank's going to go lend that money out without my permission, because I signed a form that said they could, and pay me no money on that, right? So if I put 10 grand in the bank's going to go lend out 9 grand of that. That's called fractional reserve to some homeowner who's then going to go buy a house. So I'm letting the bank go buy someone else's house with my money. What we want to see is that when I put my money in the bank, I get to choose what houses it goes into. I get to decide who gets access to my capital. And if you have enough people that do that, you won't need to go through a bank to buy a house anymore. You'll simply be able to go find 1,000 people or 10,000 people on chain who think that the house you're buying is at the right price and they want to buy it with you. So you buy maybe 2-3% of the home, like your down payment, and the community buys 97% of the home on chain, and then you pay the community a rent or a monthly payment in exchange for them owning the home, and then you slowly buy that home back from the community, one token at a time. So no longer do we have the bank taking our money and making money on it without paying us anything. We're able to go out and work as a community to buy real estate together.
All right, give me 1 second. Guys, smash a like. Producer bullish. God rest my soul, please. I'm going to have a panic attack. I hate wasting people's time. Matthew, very valuable resource. Me, no producer. Bullish. God bless. I turn my no like guys. Hey, do me a favor, Matt, and just butt out of here and then butt right back in if you don't mind. Guys, whoever's doing GRC buys right now, you are the realist of the real. Bitcoin all-time highs. Kind of just happened. That kind of just happened. I turned off everything. I did echo cancellation on everything. My audio is coming in perfect on my end. Can you just tell me one more time? Am I choppy? Am I choppy? Yeah, well, he might need more furniture, but the furniture's not coming right now. Yeah, that's a new thing. It could be me too. I'm in a very open space. But is my good content, Sandy? I know. No, you're good now. You're good. Okay. Sounds good right now. No, you're good. You're golden? Haven't heard golden in a while. Sorry, man.
You're good.
Thanks. So let's just redirect the conversation for a second so we can get back on track. You should buy XCH. It's not financial advice. I don't even know what the price is, so it's not financial advice to me right now. But guys, just so you know, the Chia blockchain, XCH, that's where our head's at right now. Can you switch and talk for a second about your purpose, your mission, and your goals?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I just want to know your purpose, your mission, your goals.
Yeah, for sure. I believe that I think that debt is, in a sense, a form of slavery. I don't think that debt is a healthy construct in life. And I think that the greatest debt that we ever take on is our home. It's the greatest, people say it's the greatest asset or the greatest investment. No, it's the greatest amount of money you'll ever borrow in your life. And the whole goal of life is to borrow more and more and more to buy a bigger and bigger and nicer house. And that's the largest payment that you make out of your pocket. So I think we can live in a world where you don't have to borrow money to buy a house. I think we can live in a world where we can relieve debt through unlocking equity and allowing for new cash to be made. And right now, my mission is to figure out a way to get the money into the people's hands and teach them that when they put it in the bank, that's not their money anymore. And if they borrow money for the house is 97% to banks. Because if you bought a house in the past 2 years, you're not going to sell that for a profit right now. You have paid tens of thousands of dollars of interest on that house in exchange for nothing. And you could have rented and dealt with 90% less hassle with pretty much the same exact upside, if not better upside, because at least you can move without having to sell. And so renting isn't the worst thing in the world. My mission is to work with our team at all.solomonslot to create a hybrid model of renting and owning, where let's say you own 100% of your house. It's paid off. And you want to access some cash in it without having to borrow money from the bank. Well, at all.solomonslot, we believe you should be able to sell just 20% of your home. So if your home's worth $1 million, you should be able to access $200K today from the community. And with that money, you should only have to pay 20% of what the rent would be. Not only that, but the ownership is represented in tokens. So if you ever want to buy back the home, you pay the rent plus more, and that more money goes to buying back the tokens from the community that bought that 20%. And then let's think about it the other way. Let's say I'm a landlord and I've got a tenant who has been living in the same property for 5 years, and his dream was always to buy the home, but he could never figure out how to qualify, or he had some kind of gig contract job that didn't make him look great on paper to get a mortgage, but he paid his rent every time. Well, now I can turn the house into tokens. I can tell him, hey man, you can pay rent plus maybe $100, $200 more a month. But in the next 3 years, you'll own 3, 5, maybe 10% of that home. You're actually able to get to homeownership faster through this model than you would with the mortgage, because the mortgage takes so much interest up front. The first 3 years, if not 5 years of a mortgage on a 30-year cycle, it's interest only. If you go buy a house,
it's actually so minimally going to actually hit that mortgage for the first 5 years. If you make minimum payments, it's almost negligible.
yeah,
It's almost negligible completely. Like if you look at your statement, I'm going to call my house $250,000 when I bought it like 7 years ago. The first 5 years, I think it went down to like 242.
exactly.
Literally, and I paid $2,000 a month. We're talking 120 bands,
Right.
and I mean, at some point, this is a joke, right?
Right.
At
Not
some
fair.
point, this is like a Richard Hart piss chain.
It's not fair.
Very similar, complete fake. Nothing. Who's the money going to, and why? And then, can you talk about how our grandparents, who paid off their houses, 35 years ago, could still go under on their house?
Right, for sure. Well, not only that, but home prices have inflated to the most unaffordable level ever, and they're not going down. The thing about home prices is they're never going to go down. If they do, they're going to go down minimally. And they're likely to skyrocket up more, but we're never going to see the sort of returns that our parents made holding a home for 50 years from, 40 years from 1980 to 2020, right? The homes tripled, sometimes 5x over that time period.
Mine doubled in 7 years.
Yeah, exactly. So you have an entire group of, Gen Zs and our younger brothers and sisters who are like, bro, I'm never going to be able to afford a house. And even if they did, the home price is going to do this and barely go up, right? We have to completely reinvent the way that we buy and sell real estate. And the way to do that is to create community-based protocols that allow us to buy just fractions of a home, one fraction, one piece, one brick at a time, right? That's what we're trying to build here. We're trying to allow you to go from a renter to a 3% owner in a year, right? So when that property sells, you get 3% of the proceeds, right?
And you need it. All right, so let me give you another perspective, which you already know, but would be fun to talk about. And then I'm going to go into Cookies, his experience with your product, and I want you to elaborate on that. And this was supposed to be way more dense, but I almost had a panic attack like 25 minutes ago. So everyone, I'm back, totally back though. So you need a W-2 job, basically, where you're making $109,000 to $145,000 a year to afford a $350,000 house. Literally, those jobs do not exist in large numbers.
Yeah.
And you need to go to school for 4 years. I always bring up like a banking, like T. Rowe Price, anything like that. Good job, right? Those people are getting starter homes that I could literally be like, is there a squatter that lives here?
Right.
And then the flippers, they do their thing too. And then so you flip up one of these bad houses, turn it into just like a normal kitchen, and then next thing you know, someone who just spent the last 10 years in school. So that's 100 bands down the drain. Then they finally get out of that student debt, right? However that's possible, biggest scam in the world. And then they finally get enough money to buy a house where the plumbing's going to fail.
Right.
And,
Right.
with the cast iron, around here it's all cast iron, the starter homes, because they're like old houses. And you can make a full-time living going to new homeowners' houses and replacing their cast iron pipes because they're busting. You know what I mean? So and then they don't even know what they're getting into. Buying a home is not just a free ride. Having a home involves replacing AC units, adding a deck, a nice driveway so your family can pull in, right? So all of these things together make buying a home, like you just said, renting is, there's room for renting. I know why now. I got a good deal on my house. It's just like anything. You're getting swamped by businessmen that are marketing in this narrative that you should stick to, that you need to spend $120,000 to just cover the interest, the initial interest on your home loan. And all the while, no one even knows about it, right? Unless you're educating yourself.
Right.
And so it's almost, are you telling me that the real estate industry needs a change and you know that it's coming? Like,
For sure. Well, I think the entire financial system is in need for a change, and it's coming. And that means every single piece of the rails of that financial system. And you want to figure out whether or not you're on the side of, hey, when that financial system is reinvented, you get the new technology that you have to use. And now your money's programmable and you don't get to choose what to do with it. And you're paid every hour, but only if you work in. And if they catch you not working, you don't get paid for that hour. And it's all absolutely on chain, right? Are you going to be on that side? Or are you going to be on the other side where you say, you know what? I figured out where the new money's coming from and how they're going to build it and what they're going to do with it. I'm going to collect as much of that raw, untapped gold that they're going to turn into the new money before they ever get it, right? Before they ever get there. That's what Chia is. And not only that, but are you going to build a better product? Are you going to create better financial products, better financial engineering, better technology that allows people to keep more of their money, make more money, own more real assets, right? Because there's an entire group of people out there that want the exact opposite for you. They want you to own less. They want you to keep less. They want you to make less. And they think you're going to put up with it. And many people will. But for me, I believe that renting is better than owning in the property that I live. Why? Because if my pipes burst, I call my landlord, they come out and fix it, right? If my electricity goes out, I call my landlord, I come out and fix it. If something breaks, I don't pay for it. And secondly, I know, you guys hear my cat.
yeah, but that's, CNI, right?
Oh yeah, I know.
The best of the best, dude. I had cat memes for days. The cat thing, I was trying to add a little cat gif to make him laugh, but keep going, please. The renting, it's important. I want to hear this.
Yeah. So the other side of the equation is the smartest landlord says, why would I live in a home when I can have someone else pay for it? Right? Why would I live in this brick home when I could move someone else in who pays for my mortgage and pays for a chunk of my rent at my nice place wherever I want to live, right? That's the smartest landlord. The smartest landlord in the world is Bank of America, right? Is Wells Fargo. These banks own the real estate. You think that you own your property. No, you don't own that property until there's no liens on it and it's free and clear. The bank owns your property because if you don't pay, who gets to decide if you have to sell? The bank does. If you don't keep your insurance on it, who gets to decide if you have to sell? The bank does. Who really owns the property in that equation, right? So what's the difference between being a landlord and being a bank? There's practically no difference other than that a bank is using everyone's money to go buy all the properties. If we create better decentralized ways of allowing tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people across the world to go out and buy real estate together, we replace the banks. We teach people about how to be landlords. The cash flows go towards the community. The home ownership is reinvented because you can buy it 1% at a time, to where, let's say, for example, your rent payment was $1,000 and you're like, you know what, when I get to 10% ownership and my rent payment's now only $900 because I'm only paying rent on 90% of the home, I'm done. I don't want to buy any more of the home. I'm good with just 10% and $900 a month, and I'm going to use the rest of my money to go invest in another property down the road, or in Miami, or in LA, right? So you really start getting to choose how much of your home you actually own and how much you don't own and how much you want to pay. And if that pipe bursts or something like that, and you only own 10% of your home, well, you're only paying for 10% of that cost, right? And that's the systems that we're building at SoulSlot. I know that Gooey's been talking about, Cookies has been talking about how much he's made. Right now, you can essentially flip contracts. So you can flip real estate contracts on chain. Here she is.
CNI's coded in. The cat is coded in.
Say
A
nice
beautiful
here.
kitty.
Yeah, it's a Bengal.
That's a big one. Ooh, so cute. Oh my God. Screenshot it, CNI. Screenshot it. Hold on.
Screenshot it, dude.
Let's go.
Dude. So right now, what you can do at SoulSlot, we're trying to get more properties out there. You should pretty much have an available property at any time. If not, we've at least got 1 or 2 a month that come out. We do think we're going to ramp that up pretty aggressively, but we're still in an early phase. You can flip contracts. So think about like wholesaling, or like all you're doing is buying a little bit of the property, selling it for more when it sells on the market. So if you find a property on SoulSlot and it's worth $500,000, and you're like, no, I'm going to throw $1,000 in it. Looks like I'm going to get a 15% return. That property sells in 4 months. You're going to get paid back $1,150 or $1,150 in 4 months, which is a whole lot better than just letting that money sit in your savings account. And guess what? If you put it in your savings account, the bank's going to take that money and go put it into a home anyways, right? That's how fractional reserve works. But you're getting paid, 30, 40% return on your money. With us, we're with them, they're taking all the money and paying you nothing.
So here is the tweet of Cookies. The DACs are no-brainers additions to diversified portfolios. Complement your aggressive crypto exposure with steady returns in the frames you can stomach. It says frames you can stomach is the big deal here too. We were talking earlier about when you decide to sell your home, you have to sell the entire thing, which is ridiculous, kind of, or in general. Again, guys, we are going to do more streams in the future. I am so sorry about the audio bugs. That is on me, kind of. I'm blaming Richard Hart. I blame him for everything.
I'll hook up my nicer mic too. I've got like a Rode mic over here too.
I could see. The cat, when the cat meows, it's very loud. No, but it's fine. But so SoulSlot.com. SoulSlot.com. And everyone, make sure you follow this gentleman. He tweets a lot. And he tweets about XCH a lot. And he's bullish.
Dude, where are we right now? We over $10? We're so close. Come on, dude.
And this bull run is happening. Can you give us your bull run prediction or your market predictions for Bitcoin?
$40 by when Permuto launches. $40 straight to 40.
What about Bitcoin?
Right. Bitcoin, dude. Are we talking like what timeline?
End of the year.
End of year? We don't have much year left, dude. I mean, I think 180K. I'm not a Bitcoin speculator here. I think end of year, like $60-$70. Dude, let's go, bro.
I told you. Look how serious your face is holding up the cat, and I'm just like,
like a gun. You know what I mean? Like,
if I had a cat like that, dude, I'd be so happy.
She is great, but she only eats one type of special candy.
You're an enabler.
She doesn't.
Enabler dad.
Dude, do you want to have a depressed, cat running around your house? No. Crying in the middle of the night for a cat.
Oh my God, that was so funny. So, all right, 40 Bermuda launch. Can you talk about Bermuda launch? Can you talk about that? You're deep in the weeds, dude. The S1, you've studied it. Talk about the S1. Talk about Bermuda Capital. Try to keep it a little bit elementary.
I like to, if you're going to make an investment, you got to know where the money's at. Like, what kind of money are we talking? What kind of money is Chia going to make off this whole Bermuda thing, right? So Klaus, who I think is pretty on the money with the facts. It says that Chia doesn't plan on depositing less than $1.4 billion per trust. Okay. So we got 3 trusts right out of the gate, right? Which means we've got $4.2 billion locked and loaded in stocks that's about to go live on the Chia blockchain. And dude, that means it's already ready, right? Because they're just waiting for the SEC approval. That means that it's dry powder sitting on the sideline, dude. Okay. Let's take that 4.2 and let's figure out, well, how much does Chia make, right?
Yeah, what's the percent?
Chia takes 1% upon deposit. Now they split that. So we get 0.5%, right? 1% of a bit, $4.2 billion is 42 million. Okay. That means Chia's cutting right off the top, 21 million. Guess what, dude? 21 million? That's how many Bitcoins there are. That's day one revenue. These numbers, you know?
In the full market capitalization of Chia Network is roughly 140 million.
Okay, yeah. So let's talk about how much did Chia raise. Chia raised about $60 million, okay? To build this blockchain, get it running, make all these investments, get everything up, right? 2, Chia sold, what, $14 million of the pre-farm? Chia's about to make the entire money that they've sold back in one day. Secondly, they take a quarter. So Permuto takes 0.5% of all the trades day one, I'm pretty sure, right? So that's another quarter. So let's say the 4.2 sells. That's another, what, 12, $11.5 million tacked onto our 21. So now we're up to 35 million. And if they withdraw those stocks, I think they take like another charge, and then it's like 1% of the dividend payments. So Chia plans on doing 80 of these trusts. So that's a factor of 20x on top of their $21 million in the first year if everything goes well, which means that they're fixing to make $420 million in revenue up front, right? Because they get the money when it's deposited. Who cares when it trades? Now, I think it's going to trade. I think it's going to be a very novel product. And what's Chia going to do with that money? They're going to buy back Chia from the ecosystem. And what's the ecosystem look like? It looks like new plot formats, so better decentralization with less grinding, which means regular people like you and me can start making money off of our hard drives at home without having to worry about competing against server farms. 2, poker on chain, right? Where
server farms and people that can buy Bitcoin mining equipment.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Am I buying Bitcoin mining equipment, dude? Dude, I'm not even looking into it.
Right. And it's so hard to run a server. Yeah, dude.
Hey, check this out.
Yeah.
This is the Gene Hoffman's ass pattern.
I think we're looking, like, that guy was pretty spot on. I actually think that's what it's doing right now.
Yeah, the neckline, bullish reversal pattern is forming in a downward trend. You see those cheeks right there? Those are Gene's cheeks. The neckline. Guys, if this happens, and well, you know, again, I think the bull run actually igniting a little bit will be enough pressure and momentum in the right way. The one thing about crypto,
kicked it off.
It could kick it off, right? Because people get aggressive.
That's something that, you know, who knows? This stream could have just kicked off the bull market.
Yeah, the bull market could have literally. I mean, we've been kind of in a Bitcoin bull run. Obviously, we're around all-time highs again. The double top last time at 65K was scaring everyone. Everyone's scared to death, dude.
Right.
Everyone that is aggressively buying Bitcoin is scared to death because, one, everyone's saying, oh, this asset's really integrated now. It's not going to go up as much as it used to, which does make a lot of sense. And then the double top last time ruined so many. People died over that. Seriously. People lives change over stuff like 65K down to 46K, back to 66K, and down forever.
Bro.
You know, and now we're in that same setup. I have a thread on my Twitter.
Dude, it's really pull up the chart right now. It literally did the gene. Look at the trading chart and go to the day or the 30-minute. You can do 30-minute or the hour chart.
Hold on one second.
Because we're about to break $10, which means what? Some of us just got like okay. Now click on the hour or 30 minutes even. Yeah. Now zoom in. Now scroll to the. Look at that, bro. Wait, keep going back. What does that look like to you, bro?
Double top.
There, draw that. Look at that. No, that's the cheek formation right there.
Oh,
No, it just happened July 3rd, so July 3rd to today. I'm just talking about that.
July 3rd to today.
You go to the right, all the way to the right. You keep passing it. No, the other way, bro. The other way. It's right at the end. Look at the right at the end, bro. It's a perfect. Yeah, draw that. It's the W, right? It's the W.
What does that mean to you?
Right,
I don't know anything about charts.
I mean, bro, if you break 10, you know, we'll go.
I thought you're asking for. Give me a second. You said pull up the Bitcoin chart. I see.
My bad.
USD.
Because and then overlay it with the Hoffman, the chart.
True.
Because I'm pretty sure that guy is money quant. Right there, bro.
The butt cheeks.
Yeah.
The butt cheeks and back up, and that's a nice little. Yeah, we were at that, and so guys like me, I imagine a future where I'm absolutely lavishly wealthy because of my grind set.
Right. One sheet a day for the rest of your.
Hold on. 5 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Damn it. My friend's doing a gender reveal for their baby. They just showed up in my phone. Listen, what do you think about us? What do you think about us doing the stream same time next week?
I can do
if
that.
you can, it doesn't have to be next week. It can be whenever. Let me do a little more research. Let's see where we're at next week, guys. It's FUD if you don't think if XCH isn't $1,000, everything else is FUD. Everything else is FUD. Matt, your insights, people are very excited to hear from you. I'm telling you, and it's a YouTube. Don't look at the numbers. Look at the YouTube chat. When people are chatting, when they're interested. Cookies, thank you so much for being in here. Britt, thank you so much for being in here. Honey, Crypto Hornet, everybody. I have to jump off, so I'm not a horrible friend. I appreciate your time so much. We went longer than I thought, 2 hours here. I am going to set up another stream. We had some bad audio. I'm really sorry about that. It is my fault because I should have double checked on a different stream. But Matt, your space. When is that space?
Friday, bro. Friday at 7.
Friday, guys. I'm going to pull up his. Make sure you follow this dude. He's knowledgeable, man. He's right in the mix. He's building. He's been here since day one. I'm telling you, there's some guys that you have to follow, and this is one of them. Interact with his tweets. Learn about this stuff. I will be learning about this stuff and tweeting about it. So retweet me, retweet him. Guys, the double butt cheek pattern is here. Gene Hoffman's butt. And dude, thank you so much for coming on. You're brilliant, dude. You really are. Thank you for doing all the research that you've done and continuing to grind for this community and standing up for what's right, because I have a feeling that's what you're doing. Maybe not what's right, but what's going to happen.
I mean, on the right side of things. And dude, thanks for getting the word out there. It sounds like Cookies is coming up with us next week.
Dude, why doesn't Cookies come up with us, and then we can do a stream with some other people, and I can just sit back and do my thing, and then you guys can really get into the sauce.
Yeah, I mean, we could.
Anything like that, but I'm going to go ahead and put something on here for next week, same time. I have to jump off here, guys. ticker GRC, to the moon, solslots.com. Check it out. I want to know how to put one of my properties on. I want to know. I'm going to do the research. Everybody, thank you so much. It means so much to me that I have a platform and that everyone is here, that I could support anyone in any way. Please hit the like and subscribe button. I'm going to be working on the members thing on YouTube. I don't know anything about it, to be honest, but it's all telling me to do it now. So I'll try.
GRC, dude.
Yeah, GRC, ticker GRC. We're locked in. Thank you so much, dude. And I can't wait to talk to you again. And I cannot wait to be in that space on Friday.
Yeah, it sounds fun, dude.
All right. Have an amazing day, everyone. Cheers. God bless.
God bless.